welcome to another episode of the Destiny Truthcast. I'm Lost Souls, and this is episode 28. And today I have with us RedWingGirl. How are you doing today, RedWingGirl?
Doing good. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you very much. Always wonderful to have you here. And we have 3 forum guests with us, all new this week. We've got Caladur. How are you today, Caladur?
I'm not doing too badly. I'm just enjoying the day.
And if you could, just let the listeners know a little bit about yourself.
All right, I'm 34, had to do the math there. Father of 1. I've been playing Destiny since the beginning of it, all through all the rough patches. I've been enjoying this a lot. I was a solo player early on, but got hooked up with a clan about end of The Dark Below, beginning of House of Wolves, and I've been playing with them ever since. So.
And real quickly, the game going from solo play to playing in a clan, what's that transition been? Because I'm kind of the same way. I was solo play until I started playing with RedWingGirl, and we've got our group that does the raids and stuff now, and so it's really changed the experience for me, what I enjoy in this game and how I play it. How's that been for you?
Sort of the same. I mean, it was a bit of a rocky transition at first. I'm still a lot of a lone wolf at heart, but I also like to take charge in the groups and, explain things. I have a fairly decent memory, so when we get new people into it, an activity like a raid or something like that, a lot of times it falls on me or one of the couple other people in the group to explain everything. But yeah, it definitely dragged me out of my shell a bit, that's for sure.
And Orpheus, great having you here today. And if you could, a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I'm the youngster of the group. I'm a college freshman, currently studying economics and financials. I'm kind of a nerd. Yeah. And I took the name Orpheus in 2007 when I made my Xbox Live account. When I played my first shooter, Halo 3, I fell in love. It was love at first sight, really.
I think we're all kind of nerds here, so I think that's it's safe to say you're in good company.
Good to know. But I didn't start out with shooter games. I mostly started out playing racing games. My first game was actually F-Zero Maximum Velocity on the Game Boy. So there's that.
Well, appreciate you being on today. And TheKungLao. Know we tried to get you on a couple times, and it's good to finally hear your voice on the program. How are you today? And if you could, a little bit about yourself.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm 44 years old. I started gaming in the mid-'70s with the Atari 2600, and on up until today. I got into Destiny by way of Halo. I was a big fan of Halo. Much like Orpheus, I didn't start out in shooters. I was into fighting games, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, King of Fighters, Soul Calibur, that kind of thing. And much like you and Caladur, I was mainly a solo player. And the Destiny, has really has brought me into the social gaming part of gaming. So I have that Destiny to thank for that.
Well, glad to have you on here today. And so it's kind of a downtime to a large extent in Destiny. But being Destiny, and particularly, Destiny forums, there's always something to discuss. But I guess the first thing to talk about today will be Iron Banner, since it is an Iron Banner week. So just want to see how the experience has been this week for everyone so far.
Well, I haven't really been playing that much of it. I played on all 3 characters. I think I have all 3 on up to level 4, which sounds odd since I haven't really been playing a lot. But, once you get all the bounties done, it really increases your level pretty quickly. For me, I think this is the best way Iron Banner should go, simply because you get drops. Almost everybody gets something for each game that you play. And then, of course, every time you get a bounty completed, you get something. And, once you reach 4 and 5, you can buy something. So this Iron Banner, for me, has been really great because, you can pick from the 20 clever dragons that may have dropped, and, some of the armor pieces are pretty cool. And I just think it's better. I think it's better than trying to grind to level 3 for the typical, 315 ghost and an artifact or something, I mean, it's more meaningful. The drops are plentiful, they coincide with your level, and I just think it's just better. I really like the way that they've done it. You don't have to spend all week grinding it out on 3 characters, you get there, but it doesn't really matter. It only matters if you really want to buy something, but you just get a lot more rewards, and I think this one is a lot better for the solo player as well as for teams. I just think this one has been really good.
Well, and going back to that, I remember, it's been a little while back, but before Rise of Iron, there was the Iron Banner where Nerwin's was dropping, and if I remember correctly, I don't think you got one, did you? Or maybe it took like all week for you to get one if you did, or you had to buy it maybe at the end of the week?
Yeah, I had to buy mine. I never got a drop.
Yeah, so that speaks directly to, what you're saying as far as the experience with, pretty much everyone in our group has gotten multiple clever dragons and the machine guns and everything. I mean, we've seen games where everyone got a legendary and some people multiple in the game. So what about you, TKL? What's your experience been?
Well, I can echo what RedWingGirl said about the drops. I really think the loot system now is much, much better. I've had so many clever dragons drop that it's hard to choose which role is the best. So, and I really enjoyed this Iron Banner because it's back at control. The previous one, I was kind of a bit under-leveled, light-leveled, and so it was kind of a rough go for me. But this time around, I've had a really enjoyable time.
So, are you using the Clever Dragon? Has that become your go-to now?
Not so much. I wasn't really a pulse rifle guy. I'm still using my old Hakon's hatchet and that I had from a previous Iron Banner. I still like hand cannons, and I've got a hog saw that I like to use. So I kind of mix it up. I don't stick to one particular loadout. It's just not fun for me to stick to, just one type of weapon. I like to mix it up a little bit.
That's how RWG likes to play. She's always cycling through and trying all kinds of different weapons. What have you been using so far this Iron Banner, RedWingGirl?
Well, I got a scout rifle that's really good. And I'm not a scout rifle person, but I've been doing the same thing. I like hand cannons, and I got a couple of really good hand cannons from the last one, so I've been using those, the Lingering Song. Been using those, and but I'm still impartial to my grasp. I still heavily depend on my grasp because I think the roles that I've selected for myself just suit me better in my play style. But I definitely still have my same issue with going to battle with secondary weapons. I'm still, shotguns have made a big comeback. And I just can't get the fusion rifle second shot off fast enough when a shotgunner is closing in on me. And that just really frustrates me. So I've been thinking about maybe trying to venture into sidearms, although I've never really liked sidearms, but I may start to pick up a sidearm and practice with it and see what I think about that. But I just can't use shotguns. I've been trying, I just can't use them.
Yeah, I've been, I don't switch up as much as probably the two of you, but I have been using a couple different ones this Iron Banner. and one which really surprised me because I've never really liked slower rate of fire pulse rifles, but I got a perfect stability hopscotch pilgrim, and was really surprised how much I was liking it. And actually the raid scout rifle I was using on the more open maps with more sniping, and was really surprised at how effective it's been at counter sniping or countering snipers. What about you, Orpheus? What's your experience been?
So, I did manage to play a few games this week. I try not to let my loot drops exactly dictate my experience because I am very unlucky. But,
so you didn't get your God roll clever dragon
I got
yet?
a God roll. I got a God roll, that's for sure. But for this Iron Banner, I would say, besides the loot drops I have been getting, I would say it's been mostly good. Connections are great. I'm doing my best to help the team win, but I don't know what it is. I've been seeing a lot of blowouts, about 10,000 point deficits, just a lot of losses in a row, of complete blowouts. I don't know what it is.
That's actually something that I want to get to in our next topic of discussion, because there is we definitely do want to weigh in on the score discrepancies. Have you gotten to rank 5 on any of your characters?
Oh no, I haven't had the time. I've been mostly just experimenting with other weapons. I recently got a Saladin's Vigil and tried to test that out, and oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, that's the one fusion rifle that I've seen with consistency in this game. You know, going to what RedWingGirl was saying, you know, we were discussing this as we played the other day, yesterday or the day before. You know, since Rise of Iron has come out, sniper use has really been curtailed. I know that there's been some posts we discussed before, people saying that you know, they think snipers should be buffed back, which is ridiculous because people that still snipe can still just do unbelievable shit with them. But you know, snipers aren't really the issue that they were. Shotguns, I know a lot of people have issues with them. I know there's all the talk of the numbers and the percentages of, you know, how many kills they make up per game and whatnot. But my issue isn't, I really don't have an issue with shotguns. My issue, like RedWingGirl said, is just more with fusion rifles and their, to this day, inconsistency compared to the other special weapons. Because again, you have the travel time, you have a weapon that's so affected by lag more than any other, and just too many times, you know, you'll land your bolts and they'll have that nub of health left. But yeah, I don't know what the answer is there. What about you, Caladur? How's your experience been?
It's been fairly decent. Much like TKL, I tend to switch up my loadout a lot, tailor it to the environment and to the other team. If I notice that I'm really lacking on one weapon type, I'll try to switch out to another one. Say I'll go from a pulse rifle to a scout if it's even longer range than I've been dealing with. But for the most part, I haven't run into a whole lot of lag this Iron Banner. It's been really nice. I've only made it up to rank 4 on one character though, because I did have some visitors this week, so I haven't had a whole lot of time. But drops, I didn't get a God rolled Clever Dragon, but I have gotten a couple decent ones. So I've tried it out. It's not really my archetype. I've been rocking Bad Juju since Dark Below when they buffed it for PvP.
Yeah, I tried out the Clever Dragon twice, and I've got to probably be the only one in the game, but I don't know that the 2 times that I've tried it that I've ever gotten a kill with it. Like, I can't kill anyone with the thing, which is just really weird. I mean, because it's obviously the same as Grasp and, you know, my old Coiled Hiss I used to love so much in year 1, but for whatever reason, I just cannot get a kill with it at all.
I can echo that. I see how that is, because I've had trouble with it. just adapting to the rate of fire because it's so much faster. I don't even use grasp in PvP. Like I said, I just stick with the bad juju for if I go to pulse rifle.
So, going back to Orpheus, your comment about the games being blowouts, it brings me to something that has been a topic raging on the forums since yesterday, which is the whole connection-based versus skill-based matchmaking. And so we've discussed it on here in the past, and Bungie have stated, in many times, that Destiny's matchmaking is a mixture of many factors, among those being both connection-based and skill-based matchmaking. We've had discussions with Cosmo over this, and he's told us, it's in constant flux. They're constantly adjusting and tweaking, and that's why you'll have an experience, one Iron Banner that seems so different from the next Iron Banner. One will be, red bars everywhere and sweaty. The next will be, not a lot of red bars, but not a lot of close matches either. And RedWingGirl, I know you and I were discussing earlier, and your take on this Iron Banner in regards to the matchmaking.
Yeah. So the one thing that I find surprising is the blow up of the forums on the removal of skill-based matchmaking. It's evident, this Iron Banner, that it's not heavily weighed on skill-based matchmaking, right? Because of these blowouts. And like you, Orpheus, we've seen the same thing, where it's just overwhelming, crushing one team, or they come and they crush us. And so nobody's skill has changed. There's not, it's not like all of a sudden we've become great and the next game we've become really crappy. So obviously it's been more leaning towards connection-based. But having said that, there has been some really laggy games and some red bars. So once again, they're obviously doing some sort of tweaking. I don't know what those measurements are of what they're doing, but they've obviously reduced the skill base because, once again, we're seeing a lot of lopsided matches. So, I don't know what the answer is. People talk about dedicated servers. I've been in games where dedicated servers exist, and you still get the same result. Lagginess, red bars, not making good connections. I could be in a raid, and somebody is lagging, and it's bringing the whole team down. I've got video on Xbox right now of a raid that we tried to do with two people that had the worst lag I've ever seen, ever, and we couldn't even continue the raid. It was so bad, even though my connection was great and I was the lobby leader. So I don't know what the answer is, but it has to be an experience for everyone. Everyone has to be able to have, go into a game and have a positive experience. For the most part, I think that's true. I think most games, people's connections are okay. They continue to have a good gameplay. They feel like they've come out. Either they lost it legit or they won it legit. I just think every once in a while, another teammate gets included into that, and they have a poor connection, and we're all piggybacking off of their connection, or maybe it's someone on the other side. There's just so many factors that it's just not a guarantee of how and why we have some good games and why we have some bad games. It's up to Bungie to figure that out. And I think with the consistent testing that they do and switching things up, I think they're trying to figure out what the good mix is. But that will never improve if your own connection is crappy. If you're running on a connection and everybody's on a computer and everyone's streaming Netflix or whatever the case may be, unless you yourself have a great connection, you can't eliminate that the other player doesn't, and you may be in a position where you're playing with that person who is hurting your connection as well. So these are all challenges that I think as we evolve into online gaming, that is going to be a challenge now and in years to come. And I just don't think there's any easy answers. I think if the answer was simple, I think it would be done. And so I just don't think everybody has the right mix of what how to make this game as steady as everyone thinks it should be.
And TKL, what's your thoughts on the subject, and how would you weigh in on this subject? Is that kind of how you see this, or which side of this debate do you fall on?
I can agree with RedWingGirl, about that it's going to be hard to correct it when you have people connecting from all over the globe. Like I was telling you earlier, when I was on 360, half of my clanmates were in England. So when we'd go on, of course there was a lot of latency involved when we were playing any kind of matchmaking. But my experience now, this Iron Banner, I haven't seen too many connection issues, and when they were, it didn't really seem to affect the gameplay as much. But that's not always been the case. I guess maybe I was just lucky this time around.
Well, I think one thing that we have to also take into consideration is that this is what everyone has defined as the drought. The Halloween event is over. Most people have finished the Rise of Iron DLC content. There's not a lot for everybody to do, and so there are a lot of new games that have come out. I've been playing a lot of different games besides Destiny, so I think it's going to be reaching farther and farther away as the pool gets drained, so to speak. So that may have something to do with some people's connection. But for the most part, I think the connections have been really good. I haven't had too many bad experiences. There's always at least one red bar sometimes, but for the most part, I think it's been pretty stable.
I agree.
And Orpheus, with your experience in Iron Banner, does that kind of seem like it kind of fits what you've been seeing as well? It has been more of a connection-based experience for you rather than skill-based?
I would say it does feel a lot more connection-based. Like I said earlier, it feels pretty smooth, not really getting shot through walls. I've only seen one red bar, but he left the game like a minute later, so I didn't really count that guy.
And Caladur?
Well, much like with what RedWingGirl said, I mean, the argument of skill-based matchmaking versus connection-based matchmaking, and as you've said, it's all a mix. It's hard to really separate them out, and it becomes impossible, like you've said on the forums, once you start throwing in fire teams. And I mean, I haven't seen a whole lot of red barring this Iron Banner, but I also haven't been in there a whole lot this time. So,
well, yeah, and that's another thing, that it's not just skill-based and connection-based. There are more factors than that, and one of them being, that Destiny will first and foremost try to match people up by region. And I know a lot of people don't believe that, but look around your tower and see how many people you see with names that have area codes or city abbreviations or sports team abbreviations from around where you live, and it'll show you that. And so going to the fire teams, when RedWingGirl and I play, she is the party lead and will drop in and to the tower, or will drop into patrol, and she's there. What, RedWingGirl, give usually 10 to 15 seconds before I drop in?
It's not that long, but yeah, it's a couple seconds. Definitely a couple seconds.
Yeah, and I mean, it's latency from the distance, and so you have to factor, once you factor that in, that you've got these fire teams with people playing, in other states, other cities, sometimes other countries, And so this all has to be factored in to matching people up. And so the other part of that is that, when you have a fire team made up of people that are all over the country and world, and you have all the latency discrepancies within that, we can all agree that I think that people want to see fire teams matched against fire teams. I know one of the big complaints that people have as solo players, particularly when Iron Banners roll around, is that they get mad because they're playing solo and they say they're constantly being matched up against teams of 5 and teams of 6, and it makes it impossible for them to play, which was particularly a lot of posts, when it was Iron Banner Rift and Iron Banner Supremacy. And so, people want the fire teams to be matched up against other fire teams, but then you're just doubling the amount of people that are spread out and all the latency issues and whatnot. So whatever the answers are, it's obviously not an easy solution, and it's not easy for Bungie. And again, it's constantly being tweaked. I can get that there's some frustration. You'd think that here we are in year 3, that that at some point there would be a sweet spot in how this is all put together and the algorithms behind it as far as matching us, but they haven't found a spot that they're happy with, and so they play with it and adjust it. And so, like I said, it's ever evolving, but I don't think that the calls for remove skill-based matchmaking is a realistic answer. I get people are passionate about it, but
so one of the things that bothers me about this thing a little bit is that there's two things that I see happening. One is that I think the consensus is, for most people, is that this particular Iron Banner is more connection-based than skill-based, only because of the lopsidedness of the scores, right? And yet, for some reason, people are shouting over and over and over, drop it. Now, that's not consistent with what's actually happening. So, one, why is there such a call? Is there some kind of outside source that is crying and telling its followers to flood Bungie with the request to drop this? Or is this somehow a legitimate thought in the minds of many gamers of Destiny? I happen to think that it's actually the previous. The other is that skill-based matchmaking really frustrated a lot of the top streamers. They felt it was too sweaty. They couldn't spend their time entertaining people because they were too focused on, winning the game so that their followers could lift them up as the most skilled player. Whatever the reasons are, whatever it is, at the end of the day, this game is for everybody. Everybody has to be able to go in and have wins and losses and not feel like they're being completely torn down to nothing. I happen to like the fact that if I go into a game on my own, I'm basically playing with people at my skill level. Now, I don't play PvP. I'm not a primarily PvP person. I have played more of it, but I don't want to get crushed because I'm not going to want to play it anymore. And that's primarily why I didn't really play it in year 1, because all of my friends are mostly PvP players. They're good at it, and they could compete. I go into it even now as a fire team, and I'm not on the leaderboard because I'm being matched with their level of skill, and those players are the ones that I'm competing against. It hasn't made me a better player. It just gets me frustrated, but I play because I want to play with my friends. So, but everybody has to have the opportunity to compete. And if it's going to be where one team is a blowout, where one game is a blowout, and the other game is easy, that to me is not competition. That's just, okay, here's some players to play against. You might win, you might lose. Okay. You're not competing against anybody because it's a crapshoot. You might be playing against, rock star players, or you may be playing with grandma. Who knows? But to me, that's not competition. I would rather them finely tune the skill-based and the connection-based as a joint process in which we compete against each other.
To add to that, I'd like to read a response in post that I put up on this on the forums from James X Games, that he was responding to Deej's comment about the skill-based and connection-based, and he said skill-based matchmaking has helped a lot of non-PvP players give the Crucible a chance and made it rewarding for us. I don't expect to get near the lighthouse, but I can play the daily PvP, do the quests, which require kills and wins, and take part in Iron Banner without being stomped and without feeling I am a handicap to my team. And I think that that really fits in with what you were just saying, RedWingGirl.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of trials, trials is a different thing. Trials is, that really should be a connection-based thing. I really think that it's important that the connection issues with that game is important. But like what other people say, there should be a tiered model where people are actually competing against people that are within their same skill-based thing. And, people that go to the lighthouse should be matched against people that go to the lighthouse so that, everyone has a path to get there. But, they've got bigger problems. They've got people that are paying and carrying people to the lighthouse based on cheating the system, and that's a whole together different ball game, and that has to be addressed and fixed and treated differently. But day-to-day PvP games, I don't know anybody that wants to go in and get crushed all the time because the people that they're getting paired with are just so much better than them. That I will not play it. There's no motivation for me to play a game like that. I just want to play people that are or at least close to my skill, so that I can feel like I won in that category. Not that I will ever get the skill that I'm going to be able to beat somebody who is 14 years old, has the hand-eye coordination of a frickin' cheetah. It's never going to happen for me.
Going to your other point on influence over this, and I want to ask Caladur, Orpheus, and TheKungLao, do any of the three of you follow or watch any of the major Destiny streamers or YouTubers?
I don't. Sometimes I look at the videos when they're posted on BNet, if it's something interesting, but as far as following them, no, I don't follow them.
No, I don't really follow any of the streamers or big name YouTubers or anything like that. I just play.
I don't really follow up on any of their streams. I know Patrick Casey. I just watch his in-depth videos just to get a general consensus of how armor and weapons work. And Say No to Rage, he's not as big, but he's pretty cool, I guess.
The reason I ask is, and we talked about discussing this last week. We didn't get to it, but True Vanguard had put out a video with many views and likes, offering up his opinion on weapon balance, which the opening of the video was all about the shotgun numbers now and how out of control they are and what to do about it. And his first suggestion to that was to rebuff snipers to what they were before they were nerfed, which I don't see as any kind of reasonable suggestion, because they're two completely different weapon classes, and so a sniper is not an answer to countering a shotgun, should never be. But it led to a lot of discussion on the influence of streamers and what they have and can potentially have over this game, which Cosmo weighed in on the subject and said that they take their feedback from all sources, but something that I think can't be argued is, and RedWingGirl, you had a great point on this, is again, it might not be directly the streamer that is directly influencing decisions in this game, but it's the information and a lot of times misinformation that they're giving to the thousands and hundreds of thousands of people watching their videos in some cases.
Yeah, it's not necessarily the streamer, it's the followers. I mean, how do you explain the flooding of a forum on spam posts of all different people asking for the removal of SBMM? How do you explain that?
Well, we know that really all the anti-SBMM fervor started with Triple Rec, and Triple Rec saying he didn't like playing sweaty matches, and that's really what kicked it all off.
Right, but how do you explain it happening yesterday?
I don't know where yesterday got started. I don't know what the seed was that was planted where that kicked off all the posts on the forums. I'm not sure if anyone saw the start of that or not.
I didn't see the start of it, but when I logged onto the Destiny forum earlier, that was all I saw was remove skill-based matchmaking, this, that, and everything else. It almost reminded me of the optional matchmaking days.
But going back to Triple Rec, he put out the video about a bloom. What was it, 2 months ago or so, that everyone was flooding the forums over misconceptions about how hand cannons work, which was subsequently debunked, and what he was showing was shown to not be correct in how they worked.
Right, but to this day, regardless of whether or not he said one thing, his followers still believe in what he explained to them, despite the fact that there were other videos and Bungie's own response to it. So it's a perception of communication and how things are being presented to the gamer themselves that fuels some of these responses. And I don't think it's healthy for people especially for people who invest a lot of time and money into these games, to not have a complete understanding of what's happening. And I think it's important in this case that Deej responded to your post. It's another example of them listening. It may not be the response that everybody wants to hear. People may say to themselves, well, they respond, but they don't do anything about it, kind of mentality. I don't think that's true. I think they have made some improvements. They have added certain things to the game that people wanted. They've also commented that they don't want to do certain things to the game that people keep asking over and over and over, and they've made themselves already clear that they don't want to do that. So it's a constant communication issue between Bungie and the user, and they need themselves to do a little bit better explaining these things. I don't know how they do that. I don't know if they need to have an update. I asked Cosmo, is there a way that you can list all of the known bugs, which they have done. I should take that back. They've done that in Help, where they've listed all of the known issues, the bugs and the complaints, and where they're at on it, or but maybe they need to do that on feedback. Maybe they need to do something similar where there's requests on the wish list. Is there a 50% chance that something is going to happen, or is it not, or something, so that people have some kind of an idea that actually people are working on some of these things that they want. Like, matchmaking, I know, is another one, and, the list goes on and on. But maybe there's like an ongoing update or something. I know people have asked for it.
And
what I'm trying to get to, though, actually, is that the speculation and the guessing and the updates shouldn't happen from people who don't know the inside story, right? We shouldn't be getting updates and statuses on things, all things Bungie, from people that aren't Bungie employees and couldn't possibly know what the entire facts are on the subject that they're covering, I guess is what I'm really trying to get to.
And again, that is something that, we've discussed that could be implemented better, is the fact that Bungie does put out a lot of this information that people are seeking answers to. You just have to look for it, because they do a lot of interviews on podcasts and gaming sites, and so a lot of this information exists. It just doesn't always make it back to BNet with links, stuff that gets tweeted out, and so if they could get that kind of information more integrated into the site, would be something that would be nice to see somehow. Orpheus, I was going to ask you, did you see Deeja's comment on communication on forums and over the CBMM versus SBMM subject?
I kind of skimmed it. I didn't really get to read the whole thing, so I can't really comment on it.
What about you, Caladur?
I'd seen some of it. I'd skimmed through a little bit of it. A lot of it seemed directed at the lack of, what's going on with things than anything else. A lot of the perception now is that Bungie says, we see it, we're working on it, but nobody seems to feel that they're seeing anything happen about it. And so it breeds a lot of anger, and that's what I was seeing on the responses.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of gauge what your take on the response, and just in general on how you feel, you see Bungie respond to issues.
I like seeing them respond to things, and I try to take everything with a grain of salt ever, so I like to wait and see where things go.
And what about you, TheKungLao? What's been what was your reaction to seeing just the statement today, and just, I know they've had a couple months ago where Deej and Cosmo also both posted, on how they gather feedback and how they take it in, and just your thoughts on the flow of feedback through BNet.
Well, I was glad to see Deej, respond. It's not often that he takes the time to respond on BNet, so it was good to see. And I agree with what he said. And I do believe they're listening. They can't, obviously can't implement every, suggestion that they see or hear, and but I'm sure there's feedback, so much feedback. They have to sort through it to see, what they can implement, what they can, or what they might use on Destiny 2, or or the like, something like that.
So another thing that was interesting this week was for the third week in a row, Trials players kind of had the rug swept out from under them. Any Trials players here with us today?
Right here.
Play a little bit.
And Orpheus, what was your thoughts when you saw the map this week, and just in general the past 3 weeks of playing?
Well, I kind of laughed a bit at first, and then kind of got angry.
And why the anger? And after playing, did you stay angry, or what's your perception been of it after playing?
I haven't exactly played it yet. I do plan on playing a little bit tonight with my group, but the anger comes from mostly it being completely outside of my comfort zone. I really don't play maps like that. I play a lot of Rumble, a lot of close quarters. It's really close and personal. And a map like that is just really different from most of what I play. So I guess it's just a me thing. I'm pretty sure the snipers are rejoicing. So.
And what about you, TKL?
I haven't played it this week, but I do think it's neat that they finally, mix it up and put a bigger map in there, and it should curtail some of the complaints about shotguns.
And do you think that this was a direct response to feedback that they got on their forums from players complaining the 2 previous weeks about all the shotgun kills in Trials?
I would think so. Yes. I mean, it's an obvious choice. If you got to get rid of the close quarter combat maps if you want to get away from the shotgun use. Yeah,
because that's what my take on it was, and again, people want to say that that they don't hear player feedback, but I think this map and it being First Light just shows you that they do hear what players are saying on the forums. And there were so many posts the last 2 weeks from players complaining that all Trials was shotguns, and no radar, and we can't do anything because we're dying to shotguns. So here's this map, and like I said, it just I don't know. It's just people just don't want to see, I think, when things are corrected and things are responded to. There will always be a lot of things that can still be done and can still be better, things that we've been waiting forever for and haven't seen. But you cannot argue that there are things that are constantly responded to and adjusted and changed within this game because of feedback that we give as players.
I agree.
Well, if I was a Trials player, I would just jump on one of those sparrows and just run everybody over.
Well, I think you should be a Trials player, and I think you should just stream that constantly, because I think that would be the most epic stream watching ever.
Screw those snipers. We'll just run them over.
And so I guess the last thing game-wise that we can discuss this week would be the raid challenge mode, the second one for Aksis, and people's experiences with that.
I haven't raided this week, so I wouldn't be able to comment on that.
Unfortunately, I haven't either. A lot of my group has been kind of shying away from it. Elder Scrolls came back out, so a lot of them migrated to that temporarily. We'll see when a lot of them come back.
Well, we tried it. It's ironic to me that such an easy raid gets immediately difficult with a challenge. The first challenge that they did was laughable. This one, I think, is actually a challenge. I think it's a really good and interesting challenge. It leaves no room for error or confusion, or, you have to, I don't even think lag. I think lag would be the worst enemy for this one, because, you have to do that. You have to slam on that, whatever that thing is called, platform, plate, right before the guy, gets on top of the enemy, and those two things almost have to be simultaneous, but one has to happen before the other, and you really have to be coordinated. So it's definitely a challenge, and I welcome the challenge, but unfortunately, as I stated before, I don't like this raid, so I don't really have a lot of interest in completing the challenge. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I know that a lot of other people have unsuccessfully have done it, and I know some people that have done it. So it'll be interesting to see how many people actually like it.
And that's been, I think, the most interesting thing with this raid is how quickly the raid burnout has set in for so many people with Wrath of the Machine. Because it just seemed like with King's Fall, and I didn't even start raiding King's Fall until 6 months into it, or whatever it was with you, RedWingGirl. And when I started raiding with you, we were running it on 3 characters every week, and there was just a constant stream of players wanting to run the raid, to where even up until the final week or two of the Taken King, we were running that raid not just on our normal characters, but running it multiple times on characters that had already done the raid. And here we are, now 2 months into Rise of Iron, and it just seems like there just isn't really that interest for people to want to do this raid. I know in normal mode there was, and in normal mode we were running it 3 times on every character, and then we were doing it another 2-3 times running people through. But since hard mode is released, it just seems like the burnout has been substantial and pretty unbelievable for this raid.
Yeah, I just there's just something about this raid that annoys me. I just don't like the fact that it's just so much. I can't put my finger on it. There's just something about this raid that is just not fun for me. It's just, I don't know. There's something about it.
And Caladur, was it you was saying that your raid group has kind of gotten burnout as well and are shying away from this raid?
Well, my group fully embraced it when normal mode was first out. All of them just nailed into it as hard as they could. And then it seemed like hard mode came out and everybody just kind of fell away. It was ridiculous.
And in your opinion, what has been the reasoning for that with your group and how you've seen it?
Well, like I say, with a lot of games coming out, Skyrim being re-released for the Xbox One remastered, a lot of them have gone to that. Other games have really pulled people away. I know some of them were burnt out after Taken King, really not wanting to play this one at all. As far as the individual reasons, I'm not 100% sure, but that's just it, is the burnout. I'm not sure exactly what caused it in this time, but it seems like it's hit a little bit earlier this year than it did last for my group.
You know what it is for me? Is that the previous raids were a bit of an adventure in that there was a lot of different things that you had to do to get through it. It challenged people, people's jumping abilities, or, it just had a lot of different things. And a lot of people have said this raid is great because now I don't have to stand still and just do one thing. I can run around with a shotgun and, all this other stuff, and there's just more flexibility. I just don't think this raid offers, it's just not on the level of raid in my opinion. It's just it's a glorified strike. You're grinding through levels of hordes just to get to an enemy that you just, you have to throw the balls at them, and if you don't, you have to wipe. It's just, I just don't like it. I don't like this raid.
So, TKL, what has been, for you in the past week, your favorite moment in playing Destiny? And what's been your best experience in playing the game?
Well, this past week, it's just been running the Iron Banner with friends that I've made on the forums, and from just playing the game. That would be my favorite part. I was not very much of a social gamer. I was mostly a lone wolf, and over the past few months, during Taken King, I started raiding with you and Mayhem and a few others, and it's been real enjoyable to actually get into the social part of the game that I didn't do like the first 2 years of the game. So that's what I would say would be my most enjoyable part is playing with the new friends I've made.
What about you, Orpheus?
Well, other than Iron Banner, I've been getting into a couple of other more games like Battlefield, and I was thinking of buying Titanfall 2, but I'm kind of not on that anymore. I'd say I've been really busy in the last few weeks, so my favorite thing about this week is just getting back into it,
Yeah, sometimes that the break is needed to kind of freshen things up and just kind of re-perspective yourself on the game. What about you, Caladur?
Well, unfortunately, I see my break coming up as well, but, as TKL said, just playing with the friends that we've made in Destiny and on the forums and that's been a great thing. I mean, I've been playing with people from Utah to up northern Canada, and it's been great. It's been a great time.
And RedWingGirl?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of the same way, we've been playing some Iron Banner, and it's always enjoyable to play with a group of friends and kind of just go with the flow and win and whatever, and just hang out with your friends. I mean, that's the one thing that Destiny has to offer is the ability to go do these events with people that you meet, and unfortunately, it doesn't really. It's an element of the game that I wish that they would expand on. It's another thing on the wish list, 6-man patrols or even 6-man strikes or some kind of other 6-man PvE activities. I would really like to see some kind of monthly PvE event that is like Iron Banner, something with gear or some kind of event that 6 people can get into, like the Forge would be great. Just something that builds on that whole community thing that really brings a lot of people to play Destiny as much as they do. I don't think that the solo players will put in nearly as much time on their own until they've met people that, hey, come on, let's do the raid. They motivate them to play this game more, and I think Bungie should take advantage of that community and build more events for them. And I hope that that's what they do in D2. But that's not really my most enjoyable week. I've been playing a lot of other games too, so I haven't really been on Destiny that much. But Iron Banner has been great. I think this Iron Banner has been the best one that they've put out. It's pretty smooth. The rewards are incredible. I got some really cool stuff for my Warlock this time. So I think Iron Banner has been the highlight for me, for sure.
Yeah, I think I pretty much would echo what everyone said, because there hasn't been a lot of note besides Iron Banner going on in the game. I know that we only did the raid on one character, I believe, this week, which is kind of crazy to think. But it's that experience that it's a game that we can all get on with all our friends, and at least during Iron Banner or when we're raiding, and we can all be there together and all just have this social online experience together. And I think that, like you said, if they could, with D2, implement a PvE monthly event to go along with their monthly PvP, and do them bi-weekly and alternate, every 2 weeks. PvE, PvP would be something just absolutely pretty spectacular to see done. But yeah, I would love to see the ability to do more with groups of 6 going forward. Because like I said, has such an incredible ability to bring people together in a way that other games just aren't able to. And so yeah, I guess the social aspect of this game is what potentially will carry it through, this drought. We'll see SRL and whatnot when it releases, but yeah, it's just something that friends can gather and meet up. So I appreciate everyone coming on to the episode today. RedWingGirl, wonderful having you here as always. Thank you very much. And our guests today, Caladur, Orpheus49 and TheKungLao. Really appreciate you all joining us today and being here. Thank you all very much. Everyone listening on SoundCloud, on iTunes, YouTube, participating on the forums. Look forward to hearing your thoughts on these topics as well. And as always, anyone interested in guesting on a future episode, please get in contact with us and let us know, because we'd love to have you on and hear your thoughts on Destiny. So thank you everyone for being here today, and everyone have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Souls, for having me on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me on, and have a great night, y'all.
Y'all come back now, yeah?